So, how was the previous session? You remember yesterday's session? Or you forgot? Did you sleep?
Yes.
Huh? Not in the session. In the previous night, did you sleep? Or were you talking? Huh? You slept? Are you going to sleep in this session? This is the right time to sleep. 11 o'clock. Are you going to sleep? If you sleep, what will happen? Mike will? Yes. Right? Alright, so we are going to discuss about atheism. What is atheism? Huh? Yeah, a belief that God does not exist. Now, have you met atheists? Huh? Have you met Joshua, right? Where have you met atheists? School. Which class are you? Let's say you have atheists. Okay. Who else? Have you met atheists? No. Okay, alright. So what will happen when you meet an atheist? And if an atheist asks you a question, or most of the time atheists would definitely ask you questions, right? They will of course come and try to trigger you, right? They will try to make fun of your religion. They will try to make fun of your beliefs. And what will you do? Shastra Chittividi. Eh? What will you do? What did you do, Joshua? Yeah, what will you do, Joshua? Huh? Ghost? You will ghost them. You try to ghost them. Roast. My God. Roast. Oh, that is a mass dialogue. Okay. So you should not roast people. Maximum you can fry them, but don't roast them. Okay. Huh? Bennett is demoralized after yesterday's 2 sessions. Alright, so you should not roast them because sometimes it is okay to counter their points by some sarcasm or satire. Yesterday we talked about satire, right? Some satire is all okay, but you should not kind of make fun of them, or that is very unchristianly. But if you look at if you look at it from a very logical point of view, we can think about atheism and some of the basic tenets of atheism. So as I told, atheism is a belief that God does not exist. And similarly you have agnosticism. What is agnosticism?
People who do not
Care about.
there is no use or no reason to think about that.
Okay, yeah, there are different kinds of agnosticism. Broadly we can say that people who do not have an opinion, or people who would say that there is no enough evidence for God and against God. Okay, that is what agnosticism are. So so what we do is basically the last 3 sessions that I took was basically called as apologetics. What is it called? What? Apologetics. So what is apologetics? Anybody has heard apologetics? What does that word sound similar to? Apostles. Apologize. What do you mean by apologize? Huh? So say sorry. Now this has nothing to do with apologize. Okay, apology. To make an apology it also means that to say sorry, but there is also one more meaning. It is called to make defense. Okay, so for example, if you become a lawyer, anybody wants to become a lawyer? Nobody wants to become a lawyer? No. Okay, so if you become a lawyer, then you go to the court and then you keep defense, right? You make a defense for your client. So what you are doing, you are making an apology for your client. In that sense, we are using the term apologist. So apologetics, okay, and a person who practices the art is called as apologist. So what is apologetics? Apologetics is basically defending your beliefs or defending your faith. So as a Christian, you are supposed to defend your faith. That is what you read in 2 Peter, right? 3 verse 15 if I am not wrong. You have to give a seasoned argument for your belief system. You are not a Christian because your parents are Christian. You are not a Christian because your brothers and sisters are Christian. You are only a Christian because of your personal conviction. If you do not have your personal conviction, then definitely you are not a believer. Right? You might tell that you are a believer, but you are not a believer if you do not personally believe that God exists and He has revealed Himself through His Son, Jesus Christ. Right? So there are many arguments that we make for existence of God. Yesterday we talked about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Right? The resurrection of Jesus Christ is a proof for existence of God, right? Because if Jesus claimed that He is God and if He rose again from the dead, who is He? He is God. So that is a proof for existence of God. But, atheists would definitely not buy into these arguments. But there are many atheists who have come across these claims and, they have tried to search these claims and they have believed in Jesus Christ. Okay? So in apologetics, there is another method also called as classical apologetics. What? In classical apologetics, what we do is we don't use the Bible directly, but we use reason. What? What is reason? What is reasoning? Huh? Your rational capacity. Everybody has got rational capacity. Anybody is here who doesn't have rational capacity? You understand, no? Are you understanding? Looking at your face, I think you don't have rational capacity. Yeah? Staring at my face blankly. Okay, you use reason to decode the existence of God. So from nature, from things around us, from science, from logic, you can actually come to the conclusion that God actually exists. So most of the time, atheists will come to us with different kinds of questions and different kinds of, arguments, and then they will basically ask many questions. So for example, one question that they ask is, God created everything, right? Then who created God? Yes? Then what will you say? Huh? Yes, God has no beginning and God has no end. But they will not buy into that. They will say that, no, you have to say who created God. Right? That answer is from the Bible, but he doesn't believe the Bible. They will ask you, Joshua, can God do everything? Can God do all things? If God can do all things, then can God create a stone so heavy that he cannot lift? Have you heard this? They say, no? Yes, have you heard? You have not heard? Okay. They will ask, can God create a stone so heavy that he cannot lift? Then what will you do? What will you do? I was absent that day, sorry. You can say that again. I was absent in class. What will you do? Huh? How will you justify?
हर एक चीज का अपना अपना इम्पोर्टेंस रहता है. जैसे फिर वो बोलेगा कि फिर पेड़ क्यों बनाया, फिर पहाड़ क्यों बनाया, तो हम बता सकते हैं हर एक चीज अपने काम के लिए बनाया है. We can justify like that.
That is a justification, but is it convincing enough? That's the question. See, first of all, can God do all things? Yes? Yes, everybody? Say me again. Give me a louder yes.
Yes.
Can God sin?
No.
You said God can do all things. Yeah? You said God can do all things, right? Can God? Huh? Okay. Okay, like that. Very good. Now you are thinking. Can God lie? The Bible itself says that God cannot lie because he is not a man. Right? Can I become a mother? No, because that is not in my nature. Right? So in God's nature, whatever things are, that God can do. God can do all things that are logically possible. Right? So for example, can God make a square circle? Can God make a square circle? No, because that thing is not logically possible, and logic itself exists because of God. If there is no God, there is no logic. So whatever things are logically possible, and logical possibility is because of the existence of God. Okay? I think you are following because you are nodding your head. Huh? Yes sir. Oh, okay. So God can do all things that are logically possible. So similarly, for example, let me give an example. Can I write 20 is greater than 100? Can I write? Is there a chalk available there? No? Okay. Can I write 20 is greater than 100? Can I write it? Yes, 20 is greater than 100. But is that sentence logically possible? Does it exist in real life? No. In the same way, can I ask the question that can God create a stone so heavy that he cannot lift? Is it possible to ask? It is possible to ask. But does that sentence have any meaning? Because God by definition is the greatest being, and that by definition is the Almighty. So is there anything much greater than him? Are you following? Can I say a married bachelor? Can I say a married bachelor? But can you show me a married bachelor? No, because that thing does not exist. Can I say a pink invisible elephant? Can I say? I can say that. But does a pink invisible elephant exist? No. Right? So how will you tackle these questions? By logical reasoning. And actually you have studied logic. If you have taken science in your high school, how many of you have taken science in 11th and 12th? Even if you have taken commerce, I think, in mathematics there is a chapter called as truth and logic. Right? You make these symbols like this, right? What are you doing? Huh? Even in arts there is. Because when you are coding and all, see, when you click something in a computer, or when you type something, the computer is giving you the correct output because there is a logic that is fed into it. And where does that logic come from? That logic gates is used to, to make sure that that logic works. Okay, but that is what logic is. So that logical reasoning we use in everyday life. Okay, we use in everyday life, and we will use the same logical deductive arguments to construct arguments for existence of God. So for example, let us take one verse. Let us read Romans chapter 1 verse 20. Can anybody read it loudly? Romans chapter 1 verse 20.
For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
So his invisible attributes and his divine, what is it? Tell me, what is it? His invisible attributes and his divine nature are clearly visible. So any person who doesn't even know the Bible, who is not a Christian, by his own existence, he can come to the conclusion that there is a God. Is this child here, is he an atheist? No. Nobody is born atheist. Everybody becomes an atheist. Even children, they have some sense of belief in God. Not a fully developed belief, but they have. So if you want, you can actually read Justin Barrett's Born Believers. There is a book by Justin Barrett. He is a psychologist. His book Born Believers talks about this only. Even children, they have the notion that there is a God. Only when you grow up, you start thinking, okay, I don't want to believe in God, because by believing in God, I have to follow so many. In today's class, I'm going to give you, first I'm going to start with one argument for existence of God. Argument means? No, not debate. So, in mathematics, if I am asking to prove, side AB equals side BC, then what will you do? Logic. What do you do? In triangle ABC, angle ABC is congruent to angle E, C, F, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, like that you do, and finally what you do? Therefore, from 1, 2, and 3, LHS equals
RHS.
RHS. Okay, that is what you have to do, right? Yes, that is how you prove. Okay, so we are going to look at one argument. There are many arguments for, so that is called logical argument. Okay, so we are going to use one logical argument. I am going to present to you one logical argument to, whenever you are talking to an atheist, to use to claim that God exists. But before we do this argument, we have to be aware of three laws of logic. So give me slide number 6. Okay. There are three laws of logic. So based on these three laws of logic, these are laws that you do use every day. Am I boring you? Give me louder yes. Okay. So three laws of logic. First is law of contradiction or law of non-contradiction. What does it mean? Can anybody tell me? It means that two statements that are contradictory cannot be true at the same time. For example, if can I say that the apple is green, right? And can I also say that the apple is not green? I can say that, but are those statements together true? No, they are not together true. Either it is green or it is not green. But both of them are not true at the same time. I am a man. I am a woman. Those are contradictory statements that cannot be true at the same time. So that is law of contradiction. Second is law of excluded middle. Law of excluded middle. Okay, so if I say that the apple is green, then there are only two possibilities. Either the apple is green or it is not green. There is no middle possibility. Okay, these are things that you should be doing in mathematics. You have studied in mathematics. Maybe your teacher might not talk to you, but I am just revising. So coming to your PYPA exam, you are also doing math. So next time your mom says that you will miss your studies, what will you do? Ashish bhai is teaching maths also. Okay. All right. So next is law of identity. What is law of identity? See, law of identity, you know, A equals B, B equals C. Therefore, A equals C. That means whatever A is, it's the same as B, and whatever B is, it is the same as C. Therefore, A is equal to C. Okay. So, for example, you know, there is a famous poem by Emily Group-Tide. It says, "A rose is a rose is a rose." It's actually a postmodern poem, but it's basically talking about the same identity. You know, everything is identical to itself. This only happens in mathematics. So, for example, number 4 is identical to 4. Okay, but if you take a cube and if you take another cube, then can you say that cube A is identical to cube B? Huh? No, you can't say, because they are similar. They are not identical, because even though they have exact same thing, they occupy different space. You can't mix them, no, you can't keep them in the same space, can you? No. So they are similar but not identical. Numbers can be identical. 4 can be equal to 4, because anywhere you write 4, the idea is the same. Are you following? Now, based on this logical, this thing, we have arguments called as deductive arguments. What arguments? Deductive arguments. So deductive arguments are basically, so for example, you say premise 1, premise 2, therefore conclusion. Okay? So I have a deductive arguments. How many Malayalis here? So first argument is all Malayalis love coconut. Ashish is a Malayali, therefore Ashish loves. Okay. That is a deductive argument, because if all Malayalis love coconut and Ashish is a subset of Malayali, then Ashish also loves coconut. Don't think that all Malayalis love coconut. This is just an example. Okay. This kind of questions where you get when you're doing quantitative aptitude. Okay, if you're writing some bank exams or something like that, you get no all honeybees are helicopters, all helicopters are flies, therefore all flies are, like that questions you see. So while coming to PYPA camp, you are not missing on your math studies also. Okay. Now there is a second example. Now you have to tell me whether that is also a correct logical reasoning. Okay, tell me who is going to read out. Can you read out that second argument?
God is love. Love is blind. So the conclusion is God is blind.
Is that a correct logical reasoning? If there is a flaw, then tell me where is the flaw? Which law of, before this we saw how many laws of logic? There is one law that is being grossly violated. Which law? How many laws we had? Contradiction then? Third? Which law is it? Why? Right.
Maybe because God is love. Is one premise. And then love is a part of God. Or
Okay, you are actually trying. You are going the right direction. See, God is love and love is blind. In both the statements, love is not used in the same meaning. So which law is violated? Identity, because love in first sentence and love in second sentence are not identical. They do not have the same meaning. Okay? So all the words in the syllogical argument, the logical argument should have the same meaning. That's why what we use logical languages. We are not using that here. Okay? Maybe you will do that in your, if you are doing computer science and all, you will do that. Okay, but this is an example of a deductive argument. Okay. So based on this, we are going to actually, do a deductive argument. Give me slide number 10. Okay. So this is the first argument. It's called as Kalam cosmological argument. What cosmological argument? Kalam. This has nothing to do with Abdul Kalam. Okay. This Kalam is it's an Arabic word, just like algorithm. Algorithm is, how does the word come from? Huh? Arabic. तो मैं बोला तो किधर से आता है? Algorithm, algebra. All of that, those are Arabic words. They come from Al-Ghazali. Al-Ghazali was a mathematician. उसके नाम से है algebra और algorithm. ये words उसमें से. Just like that, this also comes from Arabic. That's why the name is Kalam cosmological argument. So the argument says this: everything that begins to exist has a cause. कोई भी वस्तु जो अस्तित्व में आता है उसका एक कारण है. अभी समझो ये पैड जो है ये 10 साल पहले था क्या? नहीं, कुछ दिन पहले बनाया जाएगा. तो किसने इसको बनाया? वो एक कारण है. मतलब ये अस्तित्व में आया तो उसका एक कारण है. हम अस्तित्व में आया कुछ साल पहले तो हमारा एक कारण है. You see anywhere, you will see objects that came into existence, and these objects are called as contingent objects. What objects? Contingent objects. Contingent objects. Contingent objects meaning objects that come into existence, that have a cause for its existence. So everything that begins to exist has a cause. इसमें कोई डाउट है? नहीं. तो मैंने क्या बोला? कंटिंजेंट ऑब्जेक्ट रहेगा तो उसका कॉज रहेगा. दो टाइप के ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैं. एक कंटिंजेंट ऑब्जेक्ट है और एक नेसेसरी ऑब्जेक्ट है. कंटिंजेंट ऑब्जेक्ट मतलब ओके, एंड नेसेसरी ऑब्जेक्ट्स मतलब इट इज नेसेसरी टू एग्जिस्ट, मतलब उसका कोई कॉज नहीं है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अभी तुम्हारा पेपर में एक ट्रायंगल बना. कैन यू ड्रॉ अ ट्रायंगल ऑन योर पेपर? ओके, ठीक है, ट्रायंगल बनाया? ओके, अभी मेरे को बताओ ट्रायंगल. अरे चलेगा, छोटा भी चलेगा. That is okay. Okay, everybody has drawn triangles. Okay, everybody has drawn triangles. And here, Vincent is created red triangle. Okay, a red triangle. Okay. Now, tell me what is the definition of a triangle? Three sides. That is the correct definition. A polygon with three sides. You cannot say three sides. This is also three sides. No? Yeah? Or you can say that the three-sided closed figure. Okay. Now, if I change the color of the triangle, is it going to make any difference? No, because the definition itself is three-sided closed figure. Now, one big triangle. So here he has drawn a very big triangle. Okay. And there also I think he has drawn a triangle. Okay. All of these are triangles. Okay. Now, if you want to, are these perfect triangles? No. Are your triangles perfect? No. But if I want to take a paper and a scale and I want to draw a triangle very perfectly, would it be more perfect than your triangle? Yes. If I want to draw a triangle on a computer screen with perfect lines, would it be a more perfect triangle? Right. But if I want to take a microscope and if I want to zoom in, then would you see that the triangle is perfect? No. That means no matter how perfectly you create a triangle, it's never going to be. So have you seen a triangle? Have you ever seen a perfect triangle? Has anybody seen a triangle? But you know what a triangle means. Yes or no? So who created a triangle? Triangle is there, right? Who created a triangle? No answer? You have any answer? So, triangle is a necessary entity because it does not have a reason for its existence. Numbers, are they necessary or contingent? How many of you necessary? Say. How many of you say it's contingent? Who created numbers? Huh? Who created? God who created it? Huh? Before we invented numbers, were numbers existing? Yes, no. Before we discovered numbers, the numbers were already existing. Who created it? I know it. What will you create? But human beings create. No, before we measured, huh? Before early humans discovered numbers, before they even started existing, were there numbers? Yes, there were stars. No, you could count them, right? If you wanted. But numbers were already there, right? We just discovered it. So numbers are necessary or contingent? Necessary. It's louder. Necessary. Are you understanding? So, is God necessary or contingent? Necessary. God is not. There are many things that are not contingent. There are many things that are necessary. And these numbers, logic, everything is coming out of God only actually. Okay. So here the universe began to exist. Sorry, everything that begins to exist has a cause. मतलब जो भी चीज अस्तित्व में आया उसका एक कारण है और दूसरा क्या है ब्रह्मांड जो है अस्तित्व में आया the universe came into existence therefore the universe has a cause मतलब अगर तो universe contingent है या necessary है contingent है क्यों contingent है because we have proof give me the next slide we have proof that the universe began to exist. From where we have proof? Huh? From where? Genesis? Okay. Otherwise from where? From the Big Bang theory. Because the Big Bang clearly proves that 13.8 billion years ago, the universe formed out of singularity. Okay, and actually this was also discovered by a priest. Okay? His name was George Lemaitre. He was also an astrophysicist. Okay, he was both a priest and an astrophysicist. And in fact, if you read Genesis, you will read that in the beginning, God created heavens and the earth. So if the universe is created, then the logical question is, who created it? Who created it? Unnecessary objects. Alan is brilliant. See, if now here is the trick. This is where you have to be very careful. Are you feeling sleep there? So yeah. Okay. So see, universe is contingent or necessary? Contingent. So what created the universe? Should it be contingent or necessary? If it is contingent, then you will have to ask the question, who created that? But so then it will go to an infinite series. Universe is created by another object, then who created that object, then who created that object. Finally, you will have to reach one point where you will have to say that a necessary object created is responsible. And if there is something outside the universe that created, then the properties of the universe will not apply to it. What is the property of the universe? Space. So, if something is outside the universe who created the universe, then it should be space. Yeah, spaceless. Universe has time. Something that is outside the universe shouldn't have. So, it should be timeless. The universe is enormously large. So, something that created the universe should be enormously powerful. So, enormously large को create करने के लिए enormously powerful होना चाहिए ना. So, spaceless, timeless, immaterial, enormously powerful. ये सब description किसको fit होता है? God को fit होता है कि नहीं? So, if you are existing here, then there is a cause for your existence, right? And if you just rewind the tape, then you will know that the universe itself has a cause for its existence. Then you will have to logically ask, who created the universe, and you have to finally say that there is something like God who created the universe. Yes or no? You cannot ask who created God because God is necessary. So, for example, we say that Parker and Gauss are jutta. Parker ne yaar jutta. Baker baked the cake. Who baked the baker? Because baker is not something to be baked, right? For example, who painted Mona Lisa? Leonardo, not DiCaprio, Da Vinci. Okay? Leonardo da Vinci painted Mona Lisa. Who painted Leonardo da Vinci? Nobody, because he's a human being. Mona Lisa is a painting. So, two are two categories. You can never ask the question, who created God, because God is necessary and necessary for the existence of.
Can we call God in a different term, that is consciousness?
No. Because, see, consciousness, that is wrong, because what are we? We are personal beings or impersonal beings? Personal beings, right? So this is Bennett, this is Joshua, that is Sharon, right? So I know that people are personal. So if universe consists of personal beings, then the one who created the universe should be impersonal or personal. Huh? Because so you have intelligence and you created the computer. Man created the computer. Computer also has intelligence. Why does computer have intelligence? Because man has intelligence. If you are person, then the person who created the universe should also be a higher person. And that is where the idea of Trinity comes in. Because in no other religion you will have the idea of Trinity. Of three persons in one unity God, right? It is not three gods. It is three persons, one in essence. It's a complex idea. It's not a very simple idea. It's a complex idea because God is not a simple thing. You are not able to solve quadratic equation, but you want to understand everything about God. It's not possible. Okay? Okay? So when people say, I want to know why I cannot believe in Trinity because it is your brain is not right developed. I mean, no human being can understand everything about God. Okay? So it cannot be consciousness because consciousness is impersonal, right? God has to be of course human beings have consciousness, that's a different story, but it cannot be an energy because an energy cannot create, and energy can only create inanimate objects. Energy cannot create personal objects. Just like human beings can create a computer which also has some form of intelligence. Am I right? Yes, understood. So, is this argument clear? What is this argument called as? Kalam cosmology. Very loudly. Okay, what is the first premise? Louder, louder. Everything that begins to exist. Second, the universe began to exist. Therefore, the universe has a cause. So here, to prove that universe began to exist, you can use science because Big Bang proves that, right? And so that is what in Romans 1 verse 20. What does Paul say? Paul says that what does it say? 1 verse 20. That his eternal power and his divine attributes, nature, are revealed from the time of creation, right? Read it. Yes. Attributes. Yes. Yes. Invisible attributes, eternal power, and divine nature are visible in the things that are. Without excuse, everybody is liable to believe in God. There is no excuse. So that is one argument for believing in or as a proof of God. Are you following or not following? Are you following? Is there any doubt? How much do we have? 10 minutes. Okay, so we did Kalam cosmological argument. And is there any doubts? Any doubt you have here? If you have any doubt, before I go into the next thing, please let me know. Any doubt? Any questions? कोई शक, कोई सवाल?
Argues with me about existence of God, and I tell about Kalam cosmological argument and try to explain. What if he is not ready even then?
See, you cannot convince everybody. Are you following? It is not possible to convince people. What you can say is, the beauty of deductive argument is that it is logical. So premise 1, premise 2, conclusion. It is not an idea that you are putting. So to dismantle a logical argument, what you have to do is, you have to show that there is a flaw in logic. Yeah. So basically we call it as fallacy. So if the argument has some fallacy, then you can say that the argument is wrong. And in fact, if you read about Kalam, it's been there for thousands of years and there are thousands of pages already written about it. Just on one premise, books have been written. There are 3 statements is there. No? So, I mean, it depends on people to people. If somebody, see, a person does not become an atheist because he has got some divine revelation. He becomes an atheist because of circumstance or emotional reason. So immediately when you say this argument, you will not expect people to, oh, I'm alright, I didn't see this only. Amazing. It's never going to happen. So it's a slow process. Any other question?
It's not a question basically. The one who says that there is no God, it is also that belief, na?
Yes, it is also a belief.
Yeah. So जैसे हम कहते हैं कि कोई हिंदुइज्म में बिलीव कर रहा है और कोई किसी और रिलीजन में बिलीव कर रहा है. So the one who says कि God नहीं है, तो मेरा ये बिलीव है कि God नहीं है. तो ये भी तो एक बिलीव है. और ये बिलीव करने का जो रीजनिंग है, ये भी तो God ही ने देती है.
That is also true, but again one more thing you have to understand is that atheist will say, जब आप नास्तिक लोग से बात करते हैं तो वो लोग बोलेंगे कि मुझे मेरा बिलीफ का कोई सबूत नहीं देना है. क्यों? Because I am not believing in God, right? Mine is not a belief. ऐसा बोलते हैं कि I don't believe in God, so I don't need to give any proof. But in everything, if you are saying that it is there, or if you are saying that it is not there, in both cases you have to give proof. So, for example, if you get caught for a murder, and if you go to the court, and the court is about to put a sentence on you, then what will you say? I didn't murder only. So court will say, where is the proof? Then you will say, I didn't murder only, so there is no proof. Can you say like that? No, na? You will have to prove that you did not murder. So the negation also has a proof. So in mathematics, you have a lot of proofs like that. So for example, sometimes you're familiar with this, there is a proof that there is no number between 0 and 1. There is no whole integer between 0 and 1. You have to prove that. You have to assume that there is an integer and then you have to write 2-3 pages, and finally you realize, oh, then you write by contradiction. That is from where it is coming? Law of logic. By contradiction, our assumption is wrong. Therefore, there is no number between. So, like that you have to prove. So, a person who claims that there is no God, he also has to give proof for God's inexistence. But the problem is, most of the time they will say that, oh, there is so many bad things are happening, and therefore I don't believe in God. Right? But the problem is, if you are saying that something is bad, then you know that there is something good, right? Yes or no? If you know that a line is crooked, then you know that there is a straight line. Without the idea of straightness, you cannot have the idea of goodness. So if you are saying that things are bad and therefore there is no God, then you have to ask, then how did you come to know there is good? Because good and bad does not come from within us. Because from within us comes only bad, right? And you know that every people have their own goodness and badness, right? But you know that there is something ultimately good. And that idea comes to us not from within us but from above us. Okay, and that also is an argument for God. But I have not detailedly explored it, although it's there in my slide. It's called as the moral argument. Alright? Okay, any other questions? So we talked about two questions. One is, who created God? Second is, can God do all things? Of course, God can do all things that are logically possible, that are within His character. That are outside His character, God will not do, because by character, God is good. God cannot do evil. God cannot sin. God cannot lie. And God cannot make illogical objects, because within God is logic. Like, this is not my words, because if you read John 1 verse 1, what does it say? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You know the word, in English it is written as word, but actually the word is logos. Logos means logical order. Okay? That is the original Greek word. If you read Proverbs, it says that in wisdom He laid the foundations of the world. What is the wisdom? Reasoning. And that little reasoning we also have. Okay, one last thing I will say, Sharon, I will come to you. See, they will say that all the scientists, give me slide number 28. All the scientists are all, atheists will say that all scientists are, right? They will say that all scientists are atheists. But that is not true, because most of the world famous scientists were Christians or believers. So, for example, Isaac Newton, you have Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was not a Christian, but he was not an atheist. He was a deist, a believer, but he was not like a Christian believer. But he believed in God. But very famous scientists are actually Christians. Now, if you look at the chart there, that's the list of all Nobel Prize winners from 1900 to 2000. तो 100 years का Nobel Prize winners का chart. तो जो blue में दिख रहा है, वो atheist नहीं. Those are Christians. 65% of Nobel Prize winners are Christians. Second is that orange. You will think that is atheist, but those are also not atheists. That 20% that you see are Jews. So 86% of Nobel Prize winners are believers in God. Okay, so the idea that they say that all scientists are non-believers, science has proved that God does not exist, ये सब झूठ है, ये सब ढोंग है, इसका कुछ वास्तविकता नहीं है, इसका कुछ reason नहीं है. Okay, so when your friend comes to tell you that all the scientists or science have declared that God does not exist, because science is not a subject to study God. What is the subject to study God? Theology, right? You don't study God with science, because science is the subject of study the natural world around us. It is not the subject to study God. So in the next slide I have got some scientists. So here you have Michael Faraday. What do you know about Michael Faraday? Electricity, right? Which class you are in? See, he knows. 700. Electricity and electromagnetic induction. Michael Faraday was a deeply devoted Christian. Okay. Then the next person is Maxwell. Do you know Maxwell? Not that Maxwell. Australian Maxwell. Another Maxwell. James Clerk Maxwell. Maxwell's equation, right? You know Maxwell's equation? You might. At this age you may not, maybe not. But in college you will definitely study. Then the next person is again very famous. He is actually a theologian, but you know him from science. He is actually a theologian, okay? Pascal. You know Pascal? Yes. From where you know? Pascal? Calculator was, yeah. Yeah, he had Pascal's triangle, you know that? Pascal's triangle. Then Pascal's equation in fluid dynamics. Right. He was a deeply devoted Christian. Then these names are also very, very famous, but here you have a person called as Francis Collins. Have you heard about Francis Collins? No. Actually, a couple of years ago, when there was COVID, then that time Francis Collins was the director of the National Health Institute. So, by being the director, he is also the advisor to Donald Trump. So, he was a very important figure during that time, and also before that, he headed Human Genome Project. You know Human Genome Project, you should have studied it in biology. Human Genome Project. Most of you would have. So, all these people are Christians. So, again, this is a myth that they tell you that science and God are against each other, science and religion are against each other, but we don't have time. But if we had time, I would have told you why science has its origins in Christianity. Because if there was no Christianity, there would never have been science. Okay? Science is a product of Christianity. We are actually, this is a campsite of Jesuits, right? Yes or no? And Jesuits were the people who came to India and they brought science. They were the first person to observe. They were the first people to bring telescopes to India. Okay? So for example, you know, there is a famous mango in India, in Mumbai or in Maharashtra. What are they called? Apus. It's called as Alfonso. Why are they calling it Alfonso? Because Jesuit people brought in the grafting method and they grafted it, and that's why it's named as Alfonso mangoes. Okay? If you go to St. Xavier's College nearby, and St. Xavier's College is run by Jesuits, right? And if you go there, you will see a list of Jesuit scientists. Okay? So basically Christianity is not against the science. Okay? Atheism is against science, not Christianity. Alright? So do you understood? I mean, I kind of briefed it all together, but have you understood? Alright, any question? You have a question? Please take this question and we'll wind up.
My question was, can contingent objects create other contingent objects?
Yes.
And if yes, can humans create other objects which have emotions?
That is not possible because, see, for emotion is a complex thing, right? And that's not possible. You can create intelligence, root intelligence, but you cannot create emotions. Then you will go to a philosophical question of what is consciousness, how things become conscious, is the computer conscious or not? That's a detailed question. I don't think I'll be able to answer that in a minute, but that is a question that we could take over a discussion. Yeah. So, of course, I don't think that emotion can be created by human beings or human intelligence. I don't think that is possible. Okay, alright, so we'll close here. Okay, it was great talking to you, and you have been a lovely audience. Also, thank you PYPA for inviting me here. Thank you, Franklin Pastor, for this wonderful opportunity, and everyone who is in the senior team. And thank you, students and kids, for your wonderful cooperation. I hope this was a blessing for you. May God bless you all with these words. Thank you.